Good, happy Friday morning, January 24, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Friday morning, so let's begin. First up, Democrats make case for impeachment before senators on second day of opening arguments. At 10:35 p.m., the House impeachment managers have concluded their second day of opening remarks in the impeachment trial of President Trump. The trial will continue tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Democrats will resume their opening statements. Keen white nationalists accused of making threat through app. Indictment accuses Christopher Cantwell of trying to extort personal information. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
Huge tax breaks for the rich while the middle class continues to struggle. That's what happens when billionaires are able to control the political system. No more tax breaks for billionaires. We're going to fight for equal pay for equal work, healthcare for all of our people, and a livable wage.
Christopher Cantwell entered a courtroom today handcuffed and in leg shackles. He only spoke when responding to the judge's questions. This is white nationalist Christopher Cantwell in 2017. He became known across the country following the anti-Semitic and racist Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Tonight, he's under custody of the U.S. Marshals, facing federal charges for an unrelated incident. The investigation involving law enforcement on the local, state, and federal levels. He was arrested today by FBI agents in Keene and later arraigned inside this courthouse in Concord. The 39-year-old pleaded not guilty to extortion and interstate threat charges. Court paperwork says last June, Cantwell messaged a man through the app Telegram Messenger, allegedly saying, "So if you don't want me to come," followed by a vulgar threat to sexually assault his wife, "then you should make yourself scarce." Prosecutors say Cantwell was trying to get personal information about someone else from the man. Following his arraignment today, attorneys declined to comment on camera. In 2018, Cantwell pleaded guilty to assault and battery after pepper spraying two counter-protesters during a torch-lit march the night before the white supremacist rally. Under a plea agreement, he was banned from Virginia for 5 years, but was not required to serve any jail time. Cantwell is being held tonight until a detention hearing on Tuesday. A 4-day trial is scheduled to begin on March 3rd. Live in the newsroom, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Black Ice Pond Hockey. Organizers say ice is ready. Annual tournament celebrates anniversary. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
Huge tax breaks for the rich while the middle class continues to struggle. That's what happens when billionaires are able to control the political system. No more tax breaks for billionaires. We're going to fight for equal pay for equal work, healthcare for all of our people, and a livable wage.
For the 10th year, the Black Ice Pond Hockey Championship has skated into White Park in Concord.
Just playing some stick and puck with the boys, you know?
Organizers say this is near the spot where St. Paul's School hosted the first organized hockey game in the U.S. back in 1883. Now proud families line the rinks for youth hockey night.
My middle daughter's here right now, and she just scored, so we're so excited right now.
Totally happy about it right now. It's awesome.
Her brother's number is number 44. So she is number 44's biggest fan, if you can see that. And on the front, we have the New Hampshire Junior Monarch logo.
I love it. I play pond hockey myself for many years.
Adults take over Friday. Nearly 100 teams and 700 players will compete. The goal, to celebrate hockey and welcome new players and fans to the ice.
It's a lot of fun. It's a great thing to do in Concord in the winter and gets everybody outside.
Oh, it's a great time. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
This tournament was originally postponed until February 7th, but apparently Mother Nature is a hockey fan too. The ice is ready for players and fans.
Come on out. Tomorrow night, Friday night, we've got fireworks. We got a heated spectator tent, so there's plenty of space for people to get in out of the elements if they want to. Come down. It's like old home day down here.
And it's free.
It's free. It's free. You know, come on down, see some pond hockey.
And it is so New Hampshire.
It is. It is. Black Ice pond hockey. I guess it is. 10 years in the making.
In Concord, Gene Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Defendant takes stand in his own defense, differing accounts of stabbing. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a two-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
The arms around my neck.
Deswan Jett demonstrates for the jury his version of a struggle that ended in the stabbing death of 23-year-old Sabrina Kalusha.
Did I purposely stab Sabrina? No. No, I didn't.
Jett testified he was trying to buy marijuana from a man who was with Kalusha and two others. Prosecutors say Jett tried to steal the drugs, but he claims one of the people stole his cash and phone, so he ran off with the product and was followed into the Concord apartment building vestibule. He says he didn't know at the time, but that Kalusha must have been stabbed by his folding knife he brandished during that struggle.
My intention wasn't to let me stab somebody. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to keep them at bay.
Prosecutors showed Jett two steak knives, one found outside the building, another they say is similar that was found in his apartment. Kalusha was stabbed in the heart. Earlier in the trial, her friends testified that Jett followed them back to the car and stabbed Kalusha as she tried to get away.
Because if you did go back to the car, then this is murder, plain and simple, isn't it?
If I did go back to the car, I would tell you guys I went back to the car, but that never occurred.
Now, after testifying, those witnesses did admit to lying to police, and today Jett also admitted to lying to investigators, but maintains that he was telling the truth under oath today.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Bill would prohibit teachers from having sexual contact with students. Supporters say they were surprised to learn loophole exits. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Andy Hershberger.
Supporters of this proposal say it would close a loophole in state law, making it a crime for an authority figure to have sexual contact with a minor and prohibit the same contact by a school official with a student at that school.
I have to say it's terrifying when you can't trust the very institution that was established to protect our kids.
This proposed legislation was sparked by a situation in Concord where Kate Fry's daughter was basically reprimanded for reporting what she felt was inappropriate behavior between a teacher and a student. But because of the student's age, it was not considered a crime. That teacher was later arrested and charged in Massachusetts with aggravated rape of a child. He's pleaded not guilty. Several people who spoke today said they were surprised that this loophole exists, and says that shows that there is a critical need for this type of legislation.
No child should go to school or go to debate practice or go to their soccer team concerned about the sexual advances of the person who's in charge of their school or club.
This proposal is actually two separate bills that are being merged into one piece of comprehensive legislation. Most people at this hearing thought it was simply common sense.
We have to make sure we can close every loophole, have the policies in place, and at the end of the day, encourage people to come forward.
In Concord, Andy Hershberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Portsmouth police say new headquarters needed if immediate repairs aren't made. City Hall complex has developed problems over 3 decades, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Jennifer Crompton.
Huge tax breaks for the rich while the middle class continues to struggle. That's what happens when billionaires are...
Portsmouth's police department got a new roof, windows, and facade about 3 years ago to tighten it up and reduce water that had been at times pouring in over the years. But after decades of minimal investment, the damage has been done, mold and mildew building up.
There's been several complaints of health concerns, and we had all kinds of air quality tests going on here over the last probably year and a half.
Ongoing remediation sequenced so police work can go on, personnel shuffled between spaces while entire areas are sealed off at a time.
The bottom portion of this wall had mold into it pretty deep, so we had to dig all of this out.
Remediation opening up a can of worms, some spaces entirely gutted.
Wire lath even has rusted to the point where it's decayed. So this is years and years of water infiltration into this wall, and it needs to be dealt with immediately.
Rat traps have stopped the rodent issue, visible in the 8,000 square feet of ceiling area where tiles have been removed. Issues then discovered in the heating and cooling system. No end in sight.
So we're going through now and pulling the ceilings apart, getting out there and cleaning those spaces and really taking the opportunity to take a stock of where we're at with this building and the infrastructure within it.
The Public Works Director says the entire complex must be kept healthy and safe, and that's what they're working to do. And the feeling is that it needs new electrical and heating system to start. It will be up to the City Council to look at plans and decide what direction to move in. We're live in Portsmouth. Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Belmont man accused of sexually assaulting teenage girl. Alleged victim's father says daughter spoke with man through social media. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Kristen Carosa.
Trying hard to get a better signal? Enjoy clear cell phone talking with signalbooster.com.
22-year-old Ronald Jolin came to Laconia Superior Court Thursday to face charges of felonious sexual assault involving someone between 13 and 16. He also faces a prostitution charge.
This was an instance where he walked in of his own free will. Bail had previously been set by a bail commissioner, and so we continued bail as was previously set.
Jolin worked with his public defender behind closed doors and never appeared before a judge.
The reason why there is no appearance is because both the defendant and the state have agreed to conditions that we feel satisfy what the main goals are when it comes to bail.
Factors like whether or not the public is safe and whether Jolin is a flight risk.
He's released on his own personal recognizance. He will have a curfew. He's banned from using any electronic devices, and he will have no contact with the victim. For the time being, unless he violates one of those bail conditions, those will be the conditions throughout the remainder of the case.
We did approach Jolin and his family here in court today, but they don't want to comment on the alleged incident at this time. The father of the alleged victim, who wants to remain anonymous, says his daughter spoke with Jolin through social media before being sexually assaulted. Prosecutors wouldn't comment on the details, but say developments in this case could happen within 90 days.
Cases like this, there's a certain time deadline that we have to meet that we'll have to present to a grand jury for indictment later on, and then some court dates will be set after if there's an indictment.
In Laconia, Kristen Carosa, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. North Country voters weigh choice in Democratic field. Thousands of voters could swing close race. Sorry about that, boy. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
This is our moment. This is our one shot to defeat Donald Trump. I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. That is why I am running for president.
Born and raised in Berlin, New Hampshire, Jackie Dupuy has lived in the same home on Pershing Avenue for 60 years.
It was a good place to raise kids.
Mother to 6, grandmother to 15, great-grandmother to 22, and great-great-grandmother to 2. Dupuy keeps track of all of her offspring, but admits she's had trouble sorting out the field of Democrats in the 2020 primary.
I don't know really who I'm going to vote for. There's a couple, but it seems so many of them. And it's hard.
Right now, she likes Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang.
I really don't go with the party. I usually go with the person.
Dupuy was kind to chat with us. She typically doesn't discuss politics. Most of her family supports President Donald Trump.
We don't talk about it.
Berlin Mayor Paul Grenier, a Democrat, says Trump came surprisingly close to winning this former Union stronghold of a city in 2016. But he thinks a good number of those voters are candidate shopping in the Democratic primary this time around.
This is still a very moral community, and morality still matters. And I think that, some of the older folks who may have drifted to Trump for political reasons are going to come back home.
Berlin cast just under 2,000 ballots in the 2016 Democratic primary. In terms of the statewide vote, it's not a lot. But in a close race like 2020, every last vote is going to matter, and people, particularly in the North, pay very close attention to which campaigns have put in the time and effort here.
I'm right now very undecided right now.
In Berlin, Adam Sexton, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. U.S. futures point to a slightly higher open on Wall Street. U.S. stock index futures were slightly higher on Friday morning. Chinese city of 11 million on lockdown aimed deadly virus. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Over the coronavirus, the city at the center of the outbreak in China and 2 others going on lockdown as authorities try to stop the spread. Those numbers growing this morning. Now more than 600 people have been infected and at least 17 killed. There is one case, as we've been reporting here in the U.S., and 5 U.S. airports are now screening passengers. Kana Whitworth is in Everett, Washington, where the American patient is being treated. Good morning, Kana.
Robin, good morning. So officials here have set up a call center for anyone who thinks they may have been exposed to the coronavirus. In the meantime, they are monitoring their one confirmed patient who is here at the hospital in isolation, and he will remain that way until the CDC says he can be released. This morning, new details on the American patient infected with the coronavirus. The unidentified man in his 30s under quarantine in a Seattle hospital, living in a biocontainment room with security guards. The few medical professionals who have access using a specially skilled robot to limit their contact. The man, at the time asymptomatic, flew in from Wuhan last Wednesday, fell ill the next day, and reached out for medical attention. Within 24 hours, tested positive for the virus.
Fortunately for us, the patient also provided a good history, let us know that he was already at high risk.
Seattle officials now working on verifying 16 people he may have been in close contact with.
Department of Health epidemiologists to complete an extensive travel history with the patient.
This morning, 2 other Chinese cities on lockdown. Overnight, Wuhan, ground zero for the outbreak, but also one of the largest transportation hubs in central China, is enacting a travel ban, shutting down public transit as well as temporarily suspending departures from the train station and airport. This new video shows emergency checks in one of the last flights out of Wuhan. 2 passengers removed from the plane.
I'm in China.
American Matthew McCoy, a constant traveler in the country since 2013, says people are being extra cautious.
Nobody's at the shopping malls, and now nobody's at the movie theaters. And very few people are out and about. They've all got their groceries, and they're staying in-house as much as possible to try to weather this situation.
The CDC now funneling all passengers arriving from Wuhan through 5 U.S. airports with mandatory screenings and posting advisories at checkpoints in 14 airports. The last flight from Wuhan landing at JFK last night, and in Boston screening 10 passengers coming from Hong Kong. All were cleared. Officials now saying they have confirmed the flight that this Washington state man was on, and they're currently in the process of alerting all of the passengers. Also, every doctor I spoke with here in Washington says they absolutely anticipate seeing more cases of the coronavirus here in the United States because it spreads so quickly. Michael?
We sure hope they can isolate it. Thank you so much.
Hi. Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. But I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.